Whoops, that's not what I want. Thanks for doing that, Tiffany. Hi, Denise. Hi, Nicole. Hey, Dad. Hi, Jen. Hey, girl.
Hey, hi, how are ya?
Oh my gosh, you look so awake and beautiful.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank
You're welcome.
you.
I was like, this morning, I was like, do I sleep in for another 20 minutes or take a shower? And you can
Sleep
see what
in,
one.
sleep in.
Sleep in all the way. How are you,
Yes,
honey?
I'm good. It's so good to be with you. Thank you so much for honoring me in this way. I'm happy to have this little time and space with you.
Me too. Hi, Elena. Good
Hmm.
morning, peoples.
Hi, Elena. Good morning, everyone.
I'm going to be also recording audio on my phone. So if I'm all of a sudden like, good morning, it's March, whatever, that's what's happening.
Okay, got it.
Okay. All right, let me see here. All right, I'm doing it. Good morning, everybody. It's March.
29th.
Okay, it's March 29th. It's Monday, March 29th, and I'm here with Tifani Truelove. So excited.
So happy to be here.
Tiffany, so I met Tiffany when she did my photo shoot, which I've been plastering all over Instagram because it's so beautiful.
Looks awesome. I love to see what you're doing with those photos. That was a great time. I love spending that time together with you. It was the first time we met, and it felt so natural and easy, and we got to go so deep. Loved that.
It was so good, and I think like the coolest thing for me is like, and I told you this, it's hard for me to be photographed without making weird faces, and I feel so uncomfortable unless I'm taking a picture of myself, in which case it's totally fine.
Sure.
But it's because of that comfort level, right? Of like, I can see myself, and then I'm like, someone else is not going to see me. But you came in with like the right questions and just like so chill, and 10 minutes in, I was like, yeah.
I know, I loved it. It was, yeah, thank you for that feedback. Yeah, I really do try to create a space that helps people just feel safe to be seen, to come out of the closet and show the light that they vibrate. But I also know how it feels to be in front of the camera, and it can be intense. So I think having that little bit of understanding too helps so much, and just thinking about what my clients need, and trying to provide it. So I'm glad that you experienced that. And it shows in the pictures because every single one was so beautiful.
I was shocked. I've never liked so many pictures of myself at once.
I love that. Yeah, we made real magic. So beautiful.
It was so good. I can't wait for the next one.
Me either. I know. You're like coming at me. You're like, I'm ready to bear it all. I'm like, yes, you are. Yes, you are, chick.
I'm so feeling it. So, Tiffany, just so like I know, because I've been seeing a lot of your awesome things popping up on Instagram. You do so much more than take pictures.
I know. Yeah, I do.
You do
I know.
a lot.
Yeah. And it's really been so beautiful to watch it all kind of coming together. So, do you want me to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I went to school for photography at the Art Institute of Philadelphia in 2000, and I guess I started school in 2006. I graduated in 2010. But while I was in photography school, I was simultaneously going to the Pennsylvania School of Spiritual Healing, which was a 2-year energy healing program in Spring Grove that focused mainly on the concept healer, heal thyself. So we really went into energetic modality, worked through each one of the chakras through those 2 years, and came out on the other side, Reiki attuned. It's where I began sound healing and just really deepening into healing modality. So I've always been journeying this path with the healer and the artist. And so that's basically what I'm doing. I'm really just creating a bridge between the healer and the artist, allowing the occult, esoteric realms to inform my creation, and just kind of seeing where it takes me. And at this point, it's really taken me into, the mirror sessions, which are really just inviting witches, magic makers, tantrikas, creatives, anyone who really is like been forced to live in the closet, to come out. And I really just want to offer them a place to take up space and be seen. And on the other side of that as well, so I have the mirror sessions, and then you know, I work really closely with the feminine energy, divine feminine principle. So I host goddess gatherings, and creative coaching, creative mentorship, and then creative containers. So it's all kind of based in, you know, the feminine chakras, I would say, probably like second chakra, fourth chakra, third eye chakra kind of thing. But for the most part, I just go where it flows, and I trust my intuition to guide me into what my community needs from me, because I'm here to serve. So, yeah.
I love that. And while we're talking about it, I want to say again, because the mirror session was what we did together, right? Taking the photos. And I will say that I booked that session to get pictures for my new website. So I was intending to get pictures of myself that I could use that look professional. And what I got out of that session was so much deeper, because it was not surface level. And yeah, we came out with these amazing pictures, but now every time I look at one of those pictures, it's like I can really see myself, and being able to visually see myself that way has allowed me to embody my divine feminine in such a big freaking way. So thumbs up, girl.
Yes, that's the goal. You know, people keep coming at me and they're like, hey, I really want promotional photos. And I'm like, do you?
Do you?
Do you? I know you do. And I hear what you're saying, but there's also an invitation to show me what you really want, you know, and to create these small little energetic portals that we do have a mirror to look in and see the truth of who we are, and then choose to be that, you know. So thank you so much again for that reflection, and for the divine honor and opportunity to see you, to just be with you, and to help the people who are looking for you find you, because I think that's also such an important part, you know. It's like there are people out there who are really looking for us, who really need the specific medicine that you hold, who really need the specific medicine I hold, who really need the specific medicine that we all hold, and they're looking for you, and having these literal beacons of light, these photographs to kind of guide them in, it's just like, it's such a gift, and I'm really, really honored to do this work. So yes, thank you.
It's all so good and delicious and wonderful.
It feels so good. I'm really happy to be alive. I know.
Yes, right. We're like, we're here, we're doing it. And so, you know, talking about divine feminine, that's obviously coming up a lot. And so is mirror work, which I think is really interesting. I have so much I want to chat about. We have time, but the mirror work is interesting, because I want to ask you about this, because what's been coming through for me is mirror work. I've been told so much in my life that anytime I'm triggered by somebody, it's because there's something unhealed within myself, and that this person is showing me that as an opportunity to heal it. And so I've kind of just, you know, been holding that concept within me, and like, okay, so if somebody's challenging for me or triggering for me, I must need to stay here and face this so I can fix it. And it kind of just like boom, last week, this week, it was like, oh no, like what an amazing invitation to stay in toxic relationships under the guise of I'm the problem and I need fixing. Right? Like it feels so important as like we're moving into these places in a deeper way, that like we really use our critical thinking with it, and not just go surface level and be like, you're my mirror, I'll stay here and look at myself all day.
Yes, well, what just came in for me while you were saying that last piece around, you know, like staying where it's uncomfortable, you know, because we have something to learn. I'm like thinking like, okay, well, I'm like standing in front of this beautiful mirror, you know, it's gilded in gold, and like I'm looking at it, and like I hate what I'm wearing. Like, am I gonna stay in what I'm wearing because it is uncomfortable and it's showing me something about myself? No, I'm gonna fucking change my outfit. You know what I mean? So like, if you need to change your outfit, because the work is to be able to look clearly at what I'm seeing and see it as a true reflection of my truth, you know, not just like stay in the toxicity of it and keep reflecting the shit that sucks, you know, like,
yes.
How can I arrive to these places where I am able to really hold it all and accept it all and love it all, you know? And if I have to change my outfit to do that, change your outfit. You know, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
No, in fact, it's important to, it feels like. And, moving even like further beyond that, it's like, okay, if somebody shows you something about yourself, don't like skip the step of also looking yourself at you and asking the question, like, do you like it though? Like, do you like what you see? Because if you like what you see, who cares? Like, and that's the other part, because like
Totally.
it's like, oh, like we're all in like these interesting relationships with each other where it's like mirror me so I can see myself. It's like, no, I need to see me first.
Yeah. Well, I think there was something, and I saw the post that you're referring to that you had kind of started to like conceptualize this with, and deepen into the concept. And I really liked that piece of like personal responsibility that was kind of coming through and what I saw you writing about too, because it's like, yeah, so okay, I'm standing in front of the mirror and I see something that maybe is uncomfortable. I see something that doesn't really feel that good. What am I going to do with it? Because now it's mine. I'm the one seeing it, so I get to decide where I'm going to go from there. And I think that was a really beautiful piece that you were introducing to this concept, that is crucial. It's so crucial that we take responsibility for what we see.
Yeah, thank you. It's been so interesting how that's been like kind of the name of the game these days. It's like it's so empowering to be in control that way, and yet at the same time, it's like, ooh, but if now I'm in control that way, that means I've been in control, so I have to take responsibility for, whatever dumpster fires came before this. And it's like, yeah, you do.
Thought I could avoid that forever. And also be an empowered, beautiful being.
However you want to do it.
It doesn't work that way. Can't stay there.
Everything is as it should be for the most part. So there's also, I saw a post you did. I don't remember when this was. You know how you're scrolling and things pop up. But you said something, I'm totally pivoting, but that's how I do. You said something about, I think it was your relationship with your person, and how the two of you, or like he was the person who showed you that an artist could live their life as an artist, something like that. And that just really resonated with me, because I think for so many of us who would have much earlier in our lives led a more creative, focused life if we didn't listen to the narrative that was inappropriate and you couldn't make a living that way, from a creative writing major. It really hit me, because it was like, wow, okay, so you're basically saying that you found somebody who was already doing it, so you had a model. And I'm just thinking that so many more people are going to have models of this now.
Yes. Totally. I know, it's so beautiful. It is. And again, I think that kind of like does relate to this sense of responsibility. It's like, I felt my heart calling. I knew what direction I needed to go, but there wasn't anyone modeling it, and as soon as I saw that model, I knew that it was possible. And I do think that there is a certain responsibility to our hearts, in that way, where it's like, there's many times in my life where I felt my heart call and I didn't really know how to do it, but I do think that it is like the heart has such an innate magnetism and an innate intelligence that if it's guiding us somewhere, it will open the doors. And if we call to it, if we call out into the material world and start to open up to the possibilities of those mentors, of those teachers, of those models stepping in, they will. I was calling for that since my childhood, basically, before I met my love, and like, even with, all of this like kind of business marketing and stepping deeper into my creative life, like every time I call out for a mentor, it first appears in my dreams and then it appears in reality, and I just think that even if you do feel kind of like unclear about how to lead your life from your heart, or feel unclear about how possible it really is, just start asking, and I think that the right people show up, and I think that, we get to be those people now too, which is awesome. And it feels really, really empowering to my inner child who just longed for this life and now she's living it, it's like, what?
Yes. It's so good. And like just seeing so many amazing women stepping into that space for themselves and like creating and thriving. And also starting to, I mean, starting to understand their worth. And I don't want to use the word demand because that's not exactly what I mean, but I'm just going to say it. So, and demand that respect and say, okay, this is what I do. It is important. It is vital. And I should be recognized and energetically compensated accordingly. Because, you know, historically, artists are, you know, like the proverbial starving artist, and people love art, right? But somehow don't see it as a vital component of life. And I think we're starting to shift that narrative a little bit. And that's exciting too.
I think so too. Yeah. And I think there is something, it's kind of like that shift that occurred from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance. I kind of feel that occurring again, that like energetic around just like remembering, the illuminated spirit, remembering that illuminated force of like, damn, we've been struggling for so long. At what point do we invite soul in? At what point do we invite the spirit in? And I really do feel that return occurring, where it's just like, can't live like this forever. We're not going to survive, how can we reach out for inspiration, and where does that inspiration come from? So yeah, I totally agree. I'm feeling that as well.
It's so exciting. The term that comes to mind when you say that is the veritable godspark. Have you ever heard that term?
Tell me more.
Okay, I don't know very much. I'll just tell you what I know.
Okay.
Back when I was a teenager, and this was like a period of my life where I was so Sarah, like just totally unapologetically the weirdest little Sarah ever, right? And I would, I was homeschooled for a lot of my life, so I didn't have a lot of feedback from other kids to tell me that I was weird. So I was like, just doing it. But I was obsessed with, ancient Egyptian culture. I was obsessed with anything Burgundy, just, I was just all over the place. And I was in New York City, and there is the, what you call it? Oh my God, my brain. The thing with the pointy top. In the
pyramid.
Park. It's like a obelisk, the obelisk. And it has all this writing on it. And on the little placard reading about it, and it said something about the veritable godspark. And I remember just like hearing that, like reading that and hearing it in my soul. And I was like, that's me. I am the veritable godspark. And I went and like changed my live journal name, and I was like, yeah, MySpace, here I am. And just like God sparking it up. And I felt so powerful in that moment. And I always remember that because I had all of these parts of myself that other people, didn't think were that cool, but I thought were cool. So I didn't really care. And feeling that, like that veritable God spark within me, I was invincible. And then I let the world in to cast their opinions and show me their distorted mirror versions of me. And I was like, well, if they're showing it to me, if that's what they're saying, it must be true. And I kind of lost complete touch with that Sarah. And, now I'm almost 40. And I am younger than I've ever been because I'm pulling back all of that like teenage Sarah and that God spark within myself. And I don't care anymore what you think of me. It's like I am going to be silly and ridiculous and do what the fuck I want to do. It doesn't invalidate any part of my being. It doesn't make me less of a businesswoman. I'm a real person, and we should all be able to just be real people.
I think that's so powerful. Yeah, so powerful. Also, I was homeschooled for a while too, so I totally get that vibe. I think it speaks a lot for the lives we're probably leading now. But I think that there is a really, and I love this idea of veritable God spark, like this kind of like, again, coming back to that magnetism, there is a magnetism that occurs when we are in our authenticity. People need, based in the society we're in, we don't actually need permission, but people are looking for permission to be themselves, and when we see, again, coming back to that model, when we see people doing that, it gives us permission to be able to do that as well, and I think that there's a huge, huge power in that. You know, the more that we can just kind of continue to spread authenticity and like come back to the source, you know. I'm like thinking, and I love that idea of like just the distorted mirror, how like we're kind of like in this distorted society looking around trying to define ourselves. And like if you see that, if you see your distorted image enough, you do start to be convinced that that's who you are, you know. But there's always this place within us that's totally, it might be dusty, but we can revisit the altar of the heart and clear that mirror off and really find the clarity and the truth of who we are. And I think that's where it lives, you know.
The altar of the heart. I love that too.
Yeah.
Good morning, chat stuff. It's so true. And even just like being able to like as a woman, like see yourself in all that that means and not apologize anymore for any of those things. Like not apologize for the things you crave, the things you want, like, and actually going after them, because there's been so many rules and judgments upon the normal desires of humanity. And I wanted it, you know, I'm like, well, it's coffee talk. Let's talk about sex. But I think it's an important topic because I was thinking at some point, like, you know, just talking to myself in my head, as one does, about all of the things that are innately human, like that just are basic human things, right? Like we all breathe, we all eat, we all think, we all have sex. These are all like things that we always do. Why would any of these things be turned into something dirty or hidden or controlled by somebody else? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because they hold power. And there's a real distortion, you know, of like there's a real power distortion at play, you know. And I don't know. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to, yeah.
I kind of want you to.
Yeah, I know. There's just this, you know, there's a real distortion in the ways that power has been yielded, you know. It's been powered, we've been powered over, you know. There has been a domination that's occurred. And I think that it has, you know, mostly been over the feminine and been over the power that the feminine holds, you know, because I think it's very clear as to like, and not that, you know, I'm not even talking about, you know, necessarily like gender. I'm talking about the energy that contains the freedom to flow, the freedom to create, you know, that creative source. And it's where life comes from and it's where it returns to. And if it is the source, it's obviously where the most power lies. And I think it's been really important that the king take hold of that. And he has. It has.
Big time. Big time.
And we've been divided, we've been distorted because of it, you know. And like you're saying, it is such an innate, natural part of us, and it's been taken from us. And we've been lost in the shame and the judgment and the suffering of not having access to it in the ways that we could, and the freedom of it, you know. So yeah, it definitely makes sense that they would want that power, and that they would be, not, I don't want to say they as in like there's some big conspiracy theory, but I mean, you know, there's definitely, you know, there's definitely been a power struggle, you know, and I don't want to necessarily claim victim mentality either, because we have the power to get ourselves free, you know, and the more that we continue to have these morning coffee chats, the more that we're going to be able to do that, as long as, you know, they'll let us. But if they, you know, if they cut us off, we'll go underground, because the mind is evolving with or without these systems. It's not, you know, we are much bigger than these systems. And the evolution of humanity is much bigger than these systems, you know. The evolution of Earth is much bigger than these systems. So at the end of the day, I'm like, this is just a small blip in what's going to occur, you know. And I don't really like getting lost in the fear or the victimization or, you know, the bondage of that shit, because it's like, again, I'm coming from I'm a white woman. I'm privileged to be able to speak as freely as I am here, and to really like live a life that can escape a lot of the bondage. There are people who are not that privileged, you know, and I recognize that. Um, and so it's almost like more, I feel a little bit more of a responsibility to continue to deepen in this journey, you know, and get myself fucking free, basically.
Yeah. And show the way on that. And I think that, you know, I agree with everything you're saying. And the I've looked at this in so many different ways over the past few years. And one of the things that keeps popping up to me is as the divine feminine rises, it's so important for people to understand that we're not talking just about women, we're talking about the feminine energy. And moving from a masculine society to a feminine society doesn't mean all women are now in charge and, you know, fuck the men. That's not what we're saying, because these are energies we each contain within ourselves in unique proportions. And it's moving into that space of like, I don't need to blame you for this, because men have suffered just as terribly at in this patriarchal society as we have. It's just different. It's a different kind of suffering.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to kind of like, I like not to kind of like skim over that suffering at all, but can you remind me of that God spark? What is it called? The veritable God
The
spark?
veritable God spark.
Yeah, so I'm like thinking too, you know, in the like in the truth of who we are, like inviting spirit in, inviting soul in, like we are also so fucking beyond that. Like there is a point in time where we are going to be beyond the binaries, where we are going to be beyond what is feminine, what is masculine. It's beautiful to have those polarities right now, and we see it in like the Kundalini energy rising, how necessary it is, how necessary the structure is, how necessary the flow is. But in the essence of who we are, we're both, and we've always
Absolutely.
been both, you know.
Always.
and
Yes.
and like I don't know, like last week I was kind of thinking, you know, about a lot of the structures that I come from. I was raised strictly Christian, and didn't have a part in the secular world. I was very, very like sheltered from the secular world until I was probably 16. And I was just thinking, you know, like how, you know, okay, so like I was basically convinced that God was a man, and I was also convinced that he was beyond humanity. So like, how can this thing that is not biologically human be gendered? And why? You know, like how can this thing that is not a human, that is not biologically, doesn't have a body, why would it have a penis? Like it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? But like it was never even talked about. It was just like God is a man and he rules over you. And
Yes.
I
And
think
then,
that's the essence of this division that's occurred between us and our innate nature, you know? And I think that what in this conversation, in this energy that we're feeling rise through the goddess, through the feminine, through the return of that feminine energy, the creative energy, I think that we're starting to see a little bit of a shift in that, you know? And I think that I don't know where it's leading. I trust it. I don't know where we're going to go with it, but I think that if we stay in these kind of power dynamics, if it's the feminine rising, but all she does is want power, and she's just a power hungry, like not, you know, if it's the same relationship to power, it's not going to change anything. Like,
no.
and so I think that's why it's so important to just remember that like we're both, and we need to figure out how to dance.
Exactly. And how to stay in heart center, because, you know, a lot of the energy in feminism previously has been so much anger, right? From being repressed for so long. And when you fight something in that, when you bring anger to anything, you create more of that energy. And so now we're figuring out how to come at this from a heart-centered way. And it's not that we're like being pushovers about anything,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more that we understand ourselves as energetic beings in a different way. And it's so much more elevated. So it's not to say anything that came before was wrong, because that's not true either. It's just now we're moving up. We're moving up into a different place where we don't need to be going through that loop anymore of fighting with each other, and just kind of evolve into that space. And I'm seeing it. Like, you can see it, you can feel it. I know I've noticed a lot of the men that I know are, even if they're not like into my woo woo stuff, right? Just regular, like normal, like in my life guys, right? My words today, but they're feeling it. They're feeling the shift. They are not sure what to do. They're not sure how best to be supportive of their women who suddenly are shifting overnight, right? They're asking those questions, and I've been seeing that and asking myself, like, what can I do here? Like, what can I do to assist this? Because I have two things going on here that I'm interested to hear your take on this too, because there's two energies that happen when I think about this. One is like, I love when I see men rising up and stepping into their true selves, being able to be more accessible emotionally, learning about things that they wouldn't have learned about before, just being that way, right? However, I have a real problem with a man coming into a situation and saying, I can have an emotion, and women saying, oh my God, you can feel? You must be God's gift to humanity. Let us prop you up. We should probably worship you. Do you need a sandwich? Do you need a nap? How can I help you with this? How can I handhold you along your journey? That doesn't work for me. And I don't mean it in a rude way, but it's like we all have to do our work. We all have to do our work. And we don't necessarily need to be handing out medals for being able to have regular human emotions. Like, you should have them. You should have those. That's what you've had all the time that you've been repressing. So now step up and start to ask the questions of yourself. What do I need to do to be in this space, to do this work, and not rely upon women to handhold this for you? Because a lot of us will do that very quickly because we're still in that space of being caretakers to people, right? And I find that in myself too. Like, I have to stop and say, no, it's not my job to fix people. Unless I'm invited to give you insight, I'm not going to give you any. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, definitely. I'm just like kind of catching the image of like, I guess that journey does kind of start from the beginning, but I'm feeling like, you know, that goddess, that feminine energy in the mother aspect, but also the shift to the crone aspect too, you know, of just like that kind of like liminal space between the two, where it's like, yes, I love you. Yes, I will hold you. Yes, I see you. Yes, I accept you. Yes, I'm here for you. And yes, we are all responsible for ourselves. And yes, I will not, I can't carry this for you. So, you know, I do think that there is this very subtle and beautiful way that we can hold both, where it's like, it doesn't necessarily, and sometimes it does need to be like a straight, like, this is fucking yours. I don't fucking want it. Get the fuck out of here, you know? And I think there's also like, for me, like, especially in my relationships with men in my life, you know, I see how damaging that can be as well, because there are, you know, there is this, and I'm not coming from a place of caretaking as much as I'm coming from a place of understanding, like, we're in a society that has literally told men it's not okay to feel.
Yeah.
And have kept them from the power of feeling for a very fucking long time. And so, you know, when I think about it that way, I'm like, you know, we're looking for models. And so if I can be a model of a container that allows you to feel and also hands you responsibility for the feelings at the same time, that's the kind of essence, that's the kind of energy I want to bring to the spaces that I'm experiencing this in, opposed to, you know, that kind of like conflict that occurs when I like feel my caretaker or my people pleaser stepping in, and I feel like I have to immediately go to war with it or create a wall, you know, because I think there's a beauty to it as well, you know, and I think that is a part of the feminine that she, you know, I just heard something last week and it's been sticking with me so much. It's like, if I ask my heart, can you hold this? The answer is always yes. The answer is always yes. So like, how much can I expand to hold the shit that I feel challenged by, you know? And also like, how much can I offer responsibility to the individual so that we can continue to move towards sovereignty? And there's this piece about people pleasing codependency too that I'm seeing a lot lately too, where it's like, yeah, like, sure, we can continue to label things as much as we need to move beyond it. But at the end of the day, there are fucking people out there like Mother Teresa, Ram Dass, the servers, the servants, the service-oriented, heart-centered people who literally give their whole lives to humanity. And we're not calling them codependent. So there is an energy of pleasing the other and offering the self to the other that is reciprocal. And so, like, how can we arrive to the space where our heart can receive and give? And if we were all to arrive at that space, I think that's the goal. We all need to arrive to that level of sovereignty. We all need to arrive to that level of connection so that we aren't fighting for our needs. We aren't in lack anymore. We're in abundance, and we're all making sure everyone has what they need.
Yes.
And that way there's no more fucking conversations about codependency. There's no more fucking conversations about people pleasing. We're all here to please each other. We're all here to help each other. And it's a reciprocal relationship because we're all arriving in sovereignty because we all want to help.
Yes. I think, so when you're saying that, when you were saying about like Ram Dass and Mother Teresa, the thing that really came through for me is that in order to actually be of help to humanity in any way, the first person you have to help is yourself. The first person who needs healed is you. Because if you step into that arena and you are partially healed in these different places, you're going to be consistently triggered back into those patterns because they're not healed yet. They're not strong enough to withstand that blowing wind that you will be in when you're in that space. And I think that, you know, especially when you look at what did we come here to do? We all came here with different things to do. We all have different missions, and not looking at each other and saying, well, you know, you're not acting like a Mother Teresa and you say you're a healer. That's the other thing that's been coming up so much for me, because I've been told that, especially recently, that like you're not acting like a real spiritual leader. And I'm like, well, first of all, let me just back you up there for a second. Who, like, did I put that in my bio that I'm your spiritual leader? Because I know I didn't. I know I didn't do that. Mm-hmm. That's you projecting your impact of me upon yourself. Mm-hmm. That's you giving me a name that I didn't tell you to name me. Mm-hmm. All I know is that I'm doing my life and I'm living it fucking raw. And as I'm doing it, I'm doing all kinds of things that hurt me, that bring me joy, that open me up, that shut me down, that break me open, that put me back together. That's my journey. And I'm doing it in a way that I'm taking note of that so that I can share it with people along the way. I'm not better than anybody else. I don't have all the answers. In fact, you know, lately, it's been such an interesting evolution for my business because I've stopped doing a lot of the things I used to do because I'm so in that place where it's like, don't come to me and ask me what you need to do. That's not the right question. Come to me and ask what needs to be moved out of my field so that I can make the decision that's best for me and own it and not look to somebody else for validation. That's what I feel here for. And so, I'm so sorry if, I'm not sorry, but if it offends you, the way that I present myself in life, you have the sovereign ability to turn your head. You don't need to engage with everybody. You don't need to judge everybody, but there's somebody for everyone. There's a vibrational match for everybody when it comes to healing. And especially as women in this like spiritual type community, it feels so important to me that we start to understand that there is endless energy here, endless opportunity, and we win by supporting each other, which is something we haven't done before. And you know, I've worked through it in the past few years too, because you get kind of twitchy, right, when you like see like, oh, she's kind of doing what I think I'm doing, and there's not enough. You're creating that, right? Mm-hmm. There never is going to be enough.
Totally. And I think that's where the division between all of us is coming through. It's this idea of lack, that there's a lack of resources, that there's a lack of energy, that there's a lack. And I think that, you know, coming back to the feminine means tapping back into the abundant well of creative energy, of creative source. You know, like that doesn't mean that we're not going to fucking die. It doesn't mean that, you know, that at points we're going to have, you know, it's endless. It's an endless cycle. It's a cyclical energy. And I think coming into reciprocation is a part of that answer. It's what we see in sex. You
Yeah.
know, there's an opening, there's a giving, and there's a receiving. I have to be open to receive, and someone has to be willing to give. And I think that's what we're moving towards. But in order to fully open, I have to heal myself. And we all have to heal ourselves. In order to truly give, I have to heal myself. Because if I'm giving from a place of ego, if I'm receiving from a place of ego, we're still in the same old fucking power play. And that's not what this is about, you know, unless it's like a sexy time and you want to fucking be in a power play, then fucking do that. You know what I mean? But like, do it with some goddamn intention and some consciousness so you don't create more trauma, you know, like, because that's what's occurring. You know, we've been so divided from ourselves, so taken away from our power, our true innate power, our true sovereignty, that it doesn't feel safe to receive because there's always fucking strings attached. It doesn't feel safe to give because then we owe something or someone owes us something. The reality of the feminine is that there's nothing owed. I don't owe anyone anything and nobody owes me anything. How can I arrive in service? How can I arrive from my heart so that I can help? How can I help? Well, I need to heal. And I'm going to continue to do that so that I can give freely and I can receive freely, you know? And I think that's the energy. That's sex, man. That's sex.
Tingles. I love it.
Me too.
Go ahead.
And I think, you know, again, I'm not like speaking of Ram Dass, and I hope it didn't come across as like speaking of Ram Dass or Mother Teresa as like the beings that we need to be, but I'm saying that I do think that they model the possibilities of humanity. And I think that's how Christ was too. There is the possibility, and Buddha and all of the masters, you know, there is this possibility to completely merge soul with body. And in that model, we see what we're capable of when we are healed and what the world could look like healed, you know? And so it is the responsibility, healer, heal thyself. We're all healers, you know? We're all capable of healing. We see it every day. You fall down, you cut your knee, the skin repairs itself. You're healing. It's possible on every fucking subtle level. So yeah, I totally agree with you that it is our responsibility. Yeah,
it is. And you know, something that I say, like, until like I'm blue in the face, is like, people always say to me, I need to fix that, I need to work on that, that's something that I really need to do differently, or like whatever it is. And it's like, you are not broken. You need no fixing. You're not a fucking machine. What you need is to love yourself and to give yourself fucking permission to move out of these different places, and not to feel like, oh my God, I need to work on this, I need to fix it, there's something wrong with me, if only. It's like, no, just lay your bag down, babe.
Yeah, totally.
Lay it down.
I think that was like a really that conversation of the work. My like partner, who's like basically my greatest fucking teacher, he would go fucking head to head with me on that word all the time before I understood, you know, like, you know, I was 18 in this deep healing program, you know, and doing the work, you know, and that's the language that we used, you know. And he would just always be like, yo, like, I've been at work all fucking day. You know, I don't want to come home. I don't want to be in these spaces and feel like I have more fucking work to do. And I'd be like, well, you do. And he's like, no, I don't. You're a snob. And I was like, what? He's like, you're a spiritual snob. And I'm like, you know, and I think that there is this level of like, of snobbery that comes in that language, you know, where it's like, well, I have done, and it's based in capitalism. I have done this and you haven't. So again, we're back to that power play where I've done more work than you, so I deserve more. And it's like, no, that's not what this is about. How can I continue to move into love?
Into love.
And in that energy of yes, because that's the sex. That's the place we want to be. We want to be in that yes, you know? So like, that doesn't feel like work to me.
No, it's the wrong word, but it's the wrong word for now, is what I'll say. Because, what's been really coming through is this like serious non judgment, right? Serious non judgment. Everything has worked if it worked, right? It applied if it applied. But like moving into this new space, it's like, who cares how much training you've had or how many certifications you hold or who you know or who you don't know, if at the end of the day you can't look at yourself and say I love me. Like, if you can't love you, what has been the point of any of it? What is it?
I think that's so powerful. I think it's also speaking really deeply to the paradigm shift. And actually, I'm in a dream coursework right now with this incredible teacher, Emily Myers, I think her last name is. I just call her like Emma Love because she's so freaking sweet. And she's in where is she right now? She's in South America somewhere, I think. But she's taking a Mayan abdominal course and a massage course. And the woman who's teaching it is ancient. She's been doing it since she was like 9 years old. And she's Mayan, and she is she receives all of the information about this modality through her dreams. And it turns out that it is the exact modality of her people. And so now she's teaching it to other people. And that was very much the coursework of this last week was, do we trust the intuitive information we receive, or are we caught in the trap of thinking that we need the certifications to be valid? And I think that is very much the shift between the masculine and the feminine. Can we trust and the journey to healing? Can I trust myself? Do I trust myself? And do I trust myself to heal? And if I do trust myself, I have to accept that I am not broken. I have to accept that there's nothing wrong with me, because I can't trust a broken machine. So like, how do I deepen into that relationship with myself, and how do I heal from there? And trust that well to be the place that I gain access to the source of that healing.
Yeah.
So I definitely do think that's the shift.
It's the shift, and it's the shit, Tiffany.
It is the shit. Yeah. It is the shit.
Because that's where you find your flow, right? Like, in all of the things that I've been doing now, everything's changed. I all I can do now is create containers and show up. Because anytime, like, we're doing an abundance activation course now, I didn't even try to sit down and do like syllabus like I used to, because I've learned already that's a waste of all of our time, because the energies that show up and whatever's channeling, it's exactly what we need in the moment. And trusting that has made the difference of everything. Because when I don't trust what comes through, then I'm questioning it. I'm saying, oh, is this what this person said? Did someone say? Like, I'm trying to find origins of information and second guessing myself. It's not magical. But trusting in that flow, that we're all connected to this collective consciousness. There's no ownership over these concepts and ideas. They are ancient. They're forever. They're timeless. It's energy. And all we have to do is soften ourselves enough to trust and receive. We're literally channels of creation. We birth humans. Like, think about that. A soul connects with us and is literally in our bodies and comes out. Like, give me a break, right? You're telling me that we can't make whatever we want. Please. We literally make people earthside. So, it's like the divine portal. So bringing that, like, trust yourself, like, you're getting information all the time. People always come to me, they're like, I don't know if I'm channeling. I don't know if I'm connected to my intuition. I'm like, yeah, right. Of course you are. Of course you are. Please listen, because you're always getting information. You're always hearing, like, this isn't good for me. This isn't good for me. And if your brain is in that space where it's running so much you don't know how to trust it, just move it aside for a second and run it through your body before you make a decision. Your body will tell you. It'll clench right up and say, no, we don't like that. Can you listen? Because how many decades of not listening to that tightening of your body have we, as women, most women, right, do that? And every time you feel that and you don't listen to it, you're teaching your body that you're not a safe person for you. Mm-hmm. And so now we are having to unlearn that and starting to build trust with ourselves by listening to those small movements within ourselves and say, like, I will create this safe space for you again so that you can open up fully and soften and feel safe with me. Mm-hmm. Because if I feel safe with me, it all falls into line. I attract people who uphold that energy for me as well. I no longer attract people who are toxic for me that way because I'm not toxic for me that way. So it's just kind of this interesting thing that happens when you really focus and start healing yourself.
Yeah. I think I can feel my ancestors kind of like pulling at me right now to speak to this as well. Just like how, again, I'm going to use the word privileged, but like how privileged and how lucky and how blessed I fucking am to be at this point in my lineage, because there were so many women before me who, and I feel it, I felt it this week actually, as far as my dreams go, who have been in deep survival and have had to break that relationship with trust within themselves, to survive, where it was like, I literally have to give my body away to survive. It doesn't matter what my body is saying. If I want this body to live, I have to give it away. And you know, now to see where that their survival has led the lineage, I just really want to speak to the honor and to the gratitude I have for how much so many of the women behind me had to sacrifice to arrive to this point in the evolution, you know, where we do have the possibility, we do have the capability, we do have the chance to to move beyond survival. And it's not always that way, you know, like even this past week, you know, I'm like dealing with some really fucking weird physical symptoms that like it's so easy for me to spiral into like fear about. And the more that I spiral into fear, the more that I spiral into survival, the less I actually physically dream. So last week I prayed for 2 dreams around this physical symptom, and I was offered those 2 dreams. But the rest of the time when I didn't pray for them, my mind was so focused on fear and surviving that I didn't even have the chance to dream. And that is where so many of the women behind us come from. So
Yes.
focused on survival that they didn't even have the chance to dream. And our dreams are literally the pathways to the future. They're literally showing us where we're going. And they always have, you know, our grandmother's dreams are probably the reason, my grandmother's dreams are probably the reason I'm here today, you know? So like, there's just like, I just really needed to speak to like how lucky, and I don't even know if lucky is the right word. I don't know if blessed is the right word.
What an
How,
honor.
yeah, just how privileged I am to be at this point. What am I going to fucking do with it is the question. How far am
Cool.
I going to take it?
Yes. Yes.
How much can I model a life lived in love? How much can I model a dream life? How much can I model a life lived in connection with spirit? And like begin to just like fucking radiate and magnetize and like show the way for everyone else who's looking and lost and thinking that life is only survival. You know, it's like, no, like in the feminine there is no lack. We're sharing, we're in community, we're helping each other. If I don't have it, you have it, so you give it to me, I give it to you. There's no fucking lack in the
No.
feminine.
No.
There's nothing to fight over.
No. It's an illusion. It's an illusion. But I feel that like it when thinking about our ancestors, you know, our female ancestors, there was there's been so much repression, so much pain, so much that has brought us to this point. And you know, if you want to go into this mind bending way with time, but if time isn't linear, which I don't believe it is at all, when I think of doing lineage healing, I always tell people right now, here it is. You don't have to go anywhere. You do it for you because every single piece of you that you heal, you're healing an aspect of your ancestors too. We're all connected. It's all flowing and they're here. It's so easy to feel them, especially lately, that just like you do something and you can just kind of feel that energy that's like, yes, bitch, yes. Step into that. And it is like, it's moving beyond that survival, like you said. It's in privilege, yes, but like honor. It's an honor to be here and to have chosen to come into this space and time to hold that mantle for our ancestors and say, yeah, I have this strength because you built it for me. It is within me. Every single bit of you is here in my blood. I carry it in my spirit. And so every time you do something that breaks that pattern, it's like they're just singing and feeling so happy, and you can feel it. And so I love that this is like where we're kind of wrapping up on, because it feels so exciting and hopeful. It feels like we are in this space of starting to understand how to truly begin to create community with ourselves that is, not based on lack mentality, not based on, she's getting too big, I need to pull her down. Supporting our greatness and knowing that your unique fingerprint of a personality is all you ever need to be. I have a lot of friends who are not as we're all different in our gifts, right? So some people are very cerebral, and some people are very visual and tactile, and some people are channeling spirits all day long, some people are not. It doesn't matter. One person is not more magical than the other. You have your unique gift. Like, throw yourself into that shit, and know that, like, we all need each other, and we all need differences. We don't need all the same, because that's the same trap we're just coming out of if we do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I have if we've got time, I have this really incredible example of that that just unfolded last night. A friend was posting about her work. She's a photographer. Her work got like blatantly bitten by someone in her community, and it was just like very obvious that she saw a photo that this woman took and tried to replicate it, and like, that's it, we're all replicating everything, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, looking at those two images together, it was so clear which one held soul. And that's kind of like the information that I was presenting to her too, and reminding myself of too, when I come from that place of fear, when I come from that place of lack or loss, I recognize that looking at those two images, it was such a beautiful example of like, there is a soul here that is trying to be replicated, and it is impossible. So the more that we can just deepen into our connection with source, the less we have to fucking fear. It can be replicated a million times, but it will always come back to the source. And so that's where we just need to focus on returning. It doesn't matter how many times people replicate what we're doing. Come back to the source and focus on your connection there. And that's it. That's all there is. Yeah.
I love that so much.
It's endless too. It's so abundant. Soul has no limits. There are no fucking limits in that connection.
Ooh, I want to do this every morning with you. Like pep talk.
It's really beautiful. Yeah. And if you do feel limited, if I feel limited, I realize it's because of my ego. It's because of the limits I've put on myself or society has put on me. How can I deepen back in to the place I feel most limitless?
Pull it in.
That's
Pull
it.
yourself into you.
Yeah. And trust it. Like we're at a place in time in my life, and a lot of the people I see around me, we do have the opportunity to deepen into that trust. We have created enough security, and that's not the case for everyone, but we can show the way. We can show the way, and that's our responsibility at this point,
I love it. Well, Tifani, thank you for this morning. This was the perfect way to start this week, this fiery week of Lord knows what's happening. And I hope you have an amazing day. Just thank you so much. I can't wait to connect again. You're amazing. Thank you to everybody listening. I hope you all have an amazing day. Love you, Elena.
Yeah, love you.
This will be available on my IG stories, and hopefully on the podcast. But like, don't cross your fingers. Technology's been such a bitch, but it'll be on the IG stories, and so you can watch again. And I hope we do this again soon, Tifani. Thank you again.
I love you so much. Thank you so much. You're such a gift, and thank you so much for just trusting yourself and deepening into the power that you hold, and making it accessible for all of us. So beautiful. I love you, Sarah. Thank you.
Bye, sweetie.
Bye.